Oh, look at this.
Aaron with a chef who put together this 5-course meal that I think 200,000 peppers for a really good meal. People I didn't know, they made a lot of connections.
Red House 2010 alumni. I think they're all muted. So.
Who do we have?
It is really hard to hear you guys.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear a word you're saying.
Well, we're doing introductions. Keisha, you're up.
What am I supposed to say?
Who are you of all time?
I can't hear you.
Who are you, and what was your favorite fundraiser of all time?
I'm Keisha. I am a 2011 alumni. And my favorite fundraiser, I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm not sure.
All right. Ashley.
Hey, I'm Ashley. I'm a 2000 alum from Southwest Ohio. I'm the director of TA. And I don't really have a favorite fundraiser. I didn't get really good at fundraising until just recently, so I used to hate fundraising because it was so hard to do.
Amanda.
I'm Amanda, a 2006 alum. I don't like fundraising. I don't like asking people for money, so I don't have a favorite fundraiser.
Cool. All right. So,
Speak up. We'll get this in here.
I'm trying. Starting with 2015 seminar review, we had 234 registrations. We had 222 ambassadors, and we had 100 full-time staff. So that is one of our largest ambassador numbers, also one of our largest staff numbers. So we had a lot of people on site. Some new things that we tried this year, Community Reinvestment Act grants. We will have Catherine explain what that is in a little bit. But basically, we brought in a lot of money from it, and it was fairly low maintenance in terms of how we get that money. We went back to the hunger meal, which we hadn't done for 2 or 3 years. And we had donated meals on site, the McDonald's meals and some staff meals on Wednesday and Thursday that we hadn't done before. I would love to very quickly hear any comments from anyone here about favorite things, comments about any of those new things we tried this year, anything you want to reflect about last year before we go into the new year. Anyone? Yeah.
Can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Hunger Dinner. I didn't like the poverty simulation we did the year before that as much. I think the Hunger Dinner always gets a better reaction and you get more out of it. So I hope we stay on with that.
Partially related was I understand that it's very helpful. Partially related was very sometimes bad. Hours worth of time.
And like everybody was out of character. It was so weird to see TA not smiling. It was very, very strange. And also like I know it was like very, like no one had to it was like too much for them. Personally I didn't enjoy it too much.
I'd say some sort of direction. So they have a piece of the because I know for a lot of kids, they were presented and they had like living a lot better, especially a lot of people who were stressed out by it. It was more just a day, so maybe like some sort of direction. Like I thought it was really good about like having activities doesn't go with emotions good, but I felt in some circumstances having no general Speak up, guys.
Awesome.
How many people this was their first hunger meal versus the poverty simulation? Meaning you've seen the poverty simulation in previous years. This was your first hunger meal. I'm just curious, what was your contrast in terms of those two events?
Something similar to it, but it's not like similar, but we talk also about speech and relatively. But we talked about, I remember sitting with Matt and talking about it because we were like, is it going to be like poverty there? We're like, oh no, like this is so rough, like, but it wasn't. Like, I think it because they had, it's just all into what it is that content. and there was like, it was around the same amount of people that we had that stood up into how we, and then they took like pizza boxes and they had, this is the amount of food you should get, but because of research you get this much. So it was like, I don't know, I thought it was
Thing with that, like especially being able to put the numbers and seeing it again. It are like you got a lot of the emotions. It wasn't just facts and numbers. So it was a mix. And afterwards, you didn't get that much numbers. There was more like talking about it. So I think one thing you could do is a presentation afterwards. That would get on a lot of that, kind of like mixing the two, so you have that emotional aspect of it. But then you still have the factual information.
This is like all of things obviously, you know, I'm super qualified, but the conversation wasn't being fair. Incredibly difficult to run outside. So we're running two separate ones, and using the microphones don't work. So I think for those reasons, for those of you online, what I just said was for the reasons that our size, having run two copy simulations at the same time, and didn't have microphones that last time we did, that it makes it incredibly difficult for everybody to be on the same page and follow the mechanism. But I think for them, we have to handle it deeply.
awesome. Anything else about looking back at last year? No, we have somebody new. Will you introduce yourself?
My name is Sarah. I'm actually last year in that town. And I just kind of decided to stay involved and come back to the this year, hopefully.
Awesome. Okay, moving forward, Hobie Maryland gets the opportunity to send two staff members to Training Institute each summer. This year I went as well as Ashley. At Training Institute we learn kind of what Hobie National wants us to do, what the rules are that we need to follow in order to be a Hobie affiliate, and what the changes are that are going to take place in the next few years, things of that nature, and then also tips of how we can do things better, how other sites do things, and lots of best practice sharing between people about, oh, we do this, you know, and maybe it sparks an interest of something to try. So sometimes we bring new things to Hobie Maryland, and it may not be new to Hobie, but it's new to Hobie Maryland. So some of these things, like Catherine went last year and brought back Community Reinvestment Act grants, and we raised $12,000 with that last year. So, you know, it's a really great thing, and as people get involved and stay involved, it's an opportunity that we have to give you. So Ashley and I went this year, and just some very quick notes on changes for this year. Last year, our recruitment goal was 213, so we had to reach 213 registrations in order to get financial benefits from Hobie National. And this year, that goal has risen to 235. That's a 22-person increase. We did hit 234 last year, so as long as we keep most of the recruitment that we got last year and get a few new schools, we should be okay. But Taylor and Andrew will be looking for lots of support this year to keep that number up there. The other thing that will be new this year, yeah. It's based on past recruitment numbers, and we've been above 230 for a few years now. So they had to raise, the goal for national was that over the 70+ sites in the entire country, we would hit 10,000 registrations for the goal. So that if every site hits goal, we would have 10,000 alum for next year. So they raise pretty much everyone in the country, and some sites more than others. But ours was because we've hit over 230 for more than 3 years. 400. And we had, I believe the number was 180 unique schools because we allow second students. So out of those 400, we've only hit 100 so far. So there is room to grow. The other new thing that we learned about was that the phase introduction, so if you all remember, we had our program split up into 3 phases, and each phase had an introduction speaker. Those phase introductions will be updated this year to hopefully relate more to our current ambassadors. They have not been released yet, but they will be in time for preparation for seminars. So we're expecting those probably sometime this winter to incorporate into our program, but it's just replacing the old one into a new, hopefully more relevant format. Corporate board report. Carol couldn't be here, but she congratulates everyone and thanks everyone for a great 2015 seminar. And she wants to remind everyone that the cooperating organizations, so Kiwanis, Optimists, JCs, women's clubs, all these groups that donate a lot of money to sponsor specific schools, if you were sponsored by a group, they love to have alum come back to meetings and speak about their experience and what it was like showing up and not knowing anybody and what it was like when they went back to school and all of that. And that really keeps cooperating organizations involved and wanting to sponsor somebody again the next year. Yeah. Yeah, if you email me, I can tell you who sponsored you, and you can contact that person directly, yeah. But that's a really great way to both help with fundraising and help with recruitment, because then those organizations will say, hey, we want this school back, and it makes it easier for the school to register a student. Banks as well. So like I said, we had those Community Reinvestment Act donations this year, and so those were all from banks, and we got a lot of really positive feedback from them, but I'm sure if we had somebody go and like physically go to the bank and thank them, it would make a much bigger impression. Alumni Association. Devin Chapman is our alumni advisor. He said that currently we have about 50 active members in our Alumni Association. We had lots of successful service projects and reunions last year. At the Orioles game reunion, we sold 30 tickets and raised $150 for the Alumni Association. There are a few upcoming service projects. October 18th and November 1st at the Weinberg Resource Center. This is, Jacob, you've been before, right? You want to just say what it is? Yeah, is there a microphone?
No? I'll just speak out loud. So the Weinberg Housing Resource Center is the largest shelter in Baltimore. It's working? So Hobie goes there on the first Sunday of each month for it's coming out. And so we just go to the Weinberg and we'll search emails at the time, and we just search everything and we talk to them. We clean up afterwards. Then for the people that weren't able to dinner, we also have a little project in the other room where sandwiches, just other smaller meals, so the people that go to the overflow shelter so it's really fun. I've been to almost like every single Weinberg service project this past year, and it was a great time. We reflected on what we've done next spring. Yeah.
Awesome. So, so there's 2 already planned. Again, that's October 18th and November 1st. It's an awesome way to hang out with Hobie friends and give back. Also, Beth Awalt, who was a facilitator this past year, she works there as the volunteer coordinator. So she really loves having Hobie family come and support her organization. Service projects don't have to be put on by staff members. So you yourself could do one if you have something you're interested in or any thoughts or anything. Devin is happy to work with you to help get a service project up and running, help get other alum there to support you, whatever it may be. As well as CLUES, Community Leadership Workshops, which are one-day forms of our Hobie program for freshmen. It allows for more than one student from your school to be a part of it. You can have like 5 schools with 10 students from each, that kind of thing for your region. And there are a lot of us who have been involved in CLUES before and can help support you in putting on something of that nature. So if you're interested in getting involved with the Alumni Association and doing a service project, being a part of a service project, doing a CLUE, supporting a CLUE, let us know. I know that Teresa is still looking for more people to help potentially. No? So you're still looking potentially for volunteers. Or if you're under 21 and you have a parent who wants to get involved in Hobie, or a family member, or a friend. So there are people that are interested already and are just looking to broaden their teams. So let us know so that we can kind of put those names together by county and figure out what we can do. Don Awalt is our treasurer. He gave me a little recap of last year to move us into this year. In 2015, we raised over $100,000. We only spent $84,000. Our budget was actually $89,000, so that's great that we came in under that. The breakdown of the major areas that we had income, $12,000 in CRA grants. That's the bank-supported grants. $25,000 in individual contributions. $12,000 of that is facilitation and team alumni. A little bit more from additional staff, people that don't fit into those 2 categories. And then a lot of the other stuff was, family members of past alumni who couldn't make it back, supporting people in various ways, individual contributions. Yes. Yeah, I can send it to you. Corporate contributions, $4,200. We would like to see that go up this year. It's become harder to get corporations to contribute, but it's not that hard, so we just need some more bodies to work on that. The other thing that's important to note on that, and I probably have it in here later, but corporate contributions. If your parent works at a company like IBM, they would do a matching contribution where if they donate $500, the company donates $500. And all you have to do is fill out a form. So a lot of companies do this and some people aren't even aware. So if you have a family member or a friend that's willing to contribute, it might be worth just asking them, hey, does your company do anything to support this as well? The other thing that happens is, for instance, if you have a friend that works for Apple, Apple will actually pay for service hours. So if you can get them to come be a facilitator, then they can log 200 service hours and Apple will pay them for that time, which comes to us. So there are other ways to get corporate contributions other than just specific donations. There are ways for you to have that balanced, yeah.
There's not.
You can make one.
You can make one.
Career Lunch brought in $6,000 this year. That's the people that speak at the tables contribute to pay for their table for lunch. $21,000 from cooperating organizations, Optimus, Kiwanis, JC's, Women's Club. That number is actually down from what it's been in the past. Many of these clubs are getting older. Some of them, unfortunately, are dying out. You know, the people that are leading them are getting older and not being able to take part, and so the club just kind of dissolves. But there are a lot of new, young, existing clubs that we can tap into, which I'll talk about later. And then $10,000 in gifts in kind. This number is up from years in the past. This includes contributed meals and donations like a free DJ that would normally cost money, and office supplies that somebody donates, and things like that. Brandon's working on a new gift in kind list for us to put out so that you know specifically some of the things that would be really helpful to try and go after. So now we move into 2016. Our seminar is at Mount St. Mary's again. Staff will arrive on Wednesday, May 25th, and the seminar is May 26th through 29th, the Thursday through Sunday again. And we will start with recruitment. Taylor is our director of recruitment, with Andrew as her associate director. So Taylor and Andrew, like I said, have a goal of 240 ambassadors. National requires 235 of us. The fee structure is that the first student costs the school $195. If a school wants to send a second student, it then costs them $395 for the second student, on top of the $195. Do you guys want to talk about some of your goals and such?
Microphone.
Jason.
I need another microphone now.
Can I have one? Because they're going to be over there.
Hey, Leah.
Wait. Oh, wait, I'm getting my cards.
Oh, multiple mics.
Multiple mics.
That one.
Stepping up and down.
I didn't know it was possible.
Get ready.
Hey, Leah. I want to talk to you about recruitment. I think you'd be fantastic for it's a great human spirit.
Gee, Andrew, thanks for asking. It sounds exciting, and I love Hobie. But is this something I can do?
Absolutely. It's wicked easy. All you have to do is get in contact with your schools, and I'll show you. Dear Miss Taylor, my name is Andrew DeRoche, and I'm from Hobie, Maryland. I'm looking to recruit outstanding high school to send us an outstanding sophomore this year to Hobie. Hobie is a phenomenal leadership seminar that teaches students so much about being active in the community and making a difference. Hope to see your response soon. Oh, look, here's your response.
Dear Andrew, thank you so much for your email. From reading it, it sounds like Hobie is something that I'm interested in for one of our students, but I've got a couple of questions. First, how much does it cost the school to send someone, and what all does this fee cover, and what will the student be doing? Look forward to your response. Thanks, Miss Taylor.
A response from Miss Taylor. Miss Taylor, the cost is $195 per school, and it includes all meals, housing, and anything that we'll be doing on-site with your student. The student will get access to incredible speakers, presentations, and facilitation where they'll learn how to really make a difference in your school. Hope to get your registration soon.
Andrew, this sounds sounds so exciting. I look forward to sending in our registration next week.
Wow, Andrew, this is really easy. I'd like to help spread the Hoopy cheer and get lots of students to come to this year's amazing outstanding summit.
Great, let's get you some schools.
So what we're trying to convey here, of course, we will be looking for lots of volunteers, and any time commitment that you have is something we can work with. So, you know, I know everyone's got sports, and they've got school and homework, and you've got a job, but we want to ultimately communicate that really doing the recruiting part is actually really easy, and we'll be able to give you the tools. So let's say a school asks you a really hard question, you don't know the answer. That's what we're for. We can help you answer those hard questions. So we want to make sure that you know, we get lots of folks to help this way, you know, spread the workload. Ideally, someone would probably take on about 10 schools, and we have a ranking order that says like a school that's a 1 is really easy. Maybe you send them 1 reminder email and the registration comes in. We have schools that are maybe 3s or 4s where, hey, you know, they've been in the past, they know about Hobie, but they haven't sent in a while. But we also have a lot of 5s, and 5s are schools that they have not in the last maybe 5 to 10 years sent a Hobie ambassador. So our goal is to really help try to recruit some of those schools. Another good opportunity for us is in the past we've had schools that were 1s where they didn't send last year. So we want to make sure that we really regain the schools back and try to encourage everyone to you know, really get the Hobie spirit, help each other out, and have some fun. I mean, what better way to live your life and to tell other folks about how awesome your Hobie experience was. So that's why we are counting on each of you to give us, you know, some of your time. It takes probably about 5 minutes per school per week. So
You send the email. If you get a response back from the school you answer any questions, those schools you send the first email and then they're registered. And that's it. If you have one school that you have a conversation with, yes, it's a little more work, but then at the seminar you'll recognize an ambassador from that school and you're like, I got you here. So it's really rewarding at the end of the day, and it does not take much at all, but it's a huge help to us, which we cannot do for schools.
Oh my God.
I don't. I'm glad you do, but I don't.
You are the only one. What we really need the most help in is schools in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, as well as PG County. So some of them will be challenges. So we're looking for people who are excited to take on a new challenge. We'll give you lots of training, lots of support, lots of Hobie hugs, whatever it takes. Maybe we'll even feed you. Who knows? And like I said, we'll give you plenty of time as far as deadlines. But the most important thing is that you're communicating. So you're communicating with the schools in a timely manner. So if a counselor sends you an email, don't wait a week and a half to respond to them. Try to get back to them within 48 hours. Communicate with us so we know what's going on. There's a spreadsheet that you'll get access to that tells what schools. Make some notes when you do some stuff so we know what's going on. And then I don't have to like drive to your house and be like, hey, I might drive to your house. You get the idea. We just want to make sure that communication is good. So, is there any questions about recruitment?
There's one from the internet. So, Sade wants to know, are there any scholarships for schools that don't have the resources to send students?
Yes and no. Scholarships will ultimately depend on our ability to fundraise. But in the past, we have been very successful at getting some schools some funding. So if you have a school that does request funding, let us know, and we're going to partner up with the fundraising team to figure out which schools can receive fundraising, but we're kind of doing it on a first-come, first-served basis. So we want to try to get the schools to pay as much as possible, but if there is a financial hardship, we will consider providing some services. Yes, you do. I won't leave until until I at least get something. So I won't rush out of here. I will hang around. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you guys. Hope to see y'all come up and talk to me later.
Another mission that I am trying to enforce this year is that we're all alumni, or most of us in this room are alumni of high schools in Maryland, whether we still go there or not. So I would love for everyone, including us older alum, to go back to their schools and try to get them registered by December 15th, so that we go into the new year knowing that we have all of our regular volunteers, schools in, and we can really focus on working on the schools where we don't have representation. So just keep that December 15th date in mind. There's also a national deadline, usually the first week of December, that is the guaranteed acceptance deadline. So it's a really great date to kind of tell the schools, like, if you don't get it in by this date, they might fill up, and that kind of pushes them along. Team alumni, Ashley, are you there? Do you want to speak?
Yep, I can if you'd like me to. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, great. So I'm really excited about Team Alumni this year. Just a few notes for my prospective TA. My juniors need to have 100 hours of community service. My seniors need to have 200 hours of community service. This does not need to be done by the time you turn in your application. This needs to be done by seminar. That's usually a source of confusion. I know December is coming close. I don't expect you to have those hours done in 2 months. But I do expect you to have those hours done by the time we arrive for seminar in May. The next thing is this year I've had to decrease the number of team alumni that are able to participate. We'll have 30 team alumni this year. So those spots will be filled up with people who apply. This year my goal is for all TA to be more prepared for their jobs when they come to seminar. I will be going through all of the lists of descriptions of jobs, and I will be making it a little bit more comprehensive. That way when you get to seminar, you know exactly what you're doing and you're hitting the ground running. And also too, this year we're going to try to get some seminar stuff done prior to seminar. That way we're not up until 4 in the morning every night trying to get stuff done. So that will be something that we will be trying to do as well. So once I have team alumni put together and we start to work towards our jobs, we'll start to get you guys some things that you will need to accomplish prior to seminar in order to make sure that your job can be completed in a timely manner while we're on campus. The next thing I want to touch base on is fundraising does not need to start when we make team alumni. Fundraising can start now. I urge and stress that you start now. And if you have ideas or things that you would like to do, please get in contact with me. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about your ideas. That way you can go ahead and get started on your fundraising goal now. Some dates to know about is once our applications become live, it's sometime this month, you will need to fill out the Maryland application. The online Hobie application is important. It has to be done for national, but the application I will be looking at when I'm selecting, when I'm doing interviews, is the Maryland application that Aaron will send out that will go live in October. That application is due December 21st. After December 21st, I cannot accept any more applications. So you have to have your application to me by midnight on December 21st. Once I have time to go through the applications, I will then set up interviews with you. Seniors have done this. For the juniors that have not done this, you will do a one-on-one interview with me, either over the phone or over Google Chat, Skype, however you want to do it. And we'll have a one-on-one interview. And then once the interviews are done, that usually takes me about 2 weeks. Once the interviews are done, I will sit down and put together team alumni, and I'm hoping by the beginning of February I will have Team Alumni announced. Now, I just want to remind everyone I am pregnant, so please just bear with me if I do not respond as quickly as I have in the past. Just do know that I am pregnant and I'm dealing with growing a little human. So just just make sure that you are understanding of that aspect, and I will do everything that I can to get back to you guys and have Team Alumni selected by the beginning of February.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Questions about Team Alumni?
Yeah. Ashley
And
Nozana has a question
and if you
in
have-
the chat.
What was that, Aaron? I'm having problems hearing you guys.
Is the address still the same for fundraising money?
Yes, everything
last
can be
year.
sent. Yep, everything can be sent to my home address.
So if you guys start fundraising for Team Alumni, even if you start now, send Ashley an email, let her know what you're doing, let her know that you're bringing funds in, and she'll send you her address so that she can get all the information, because she logs it all so that we know where we've gotten money from and how much of it goes towards our Team Alumni goal. If you haven't noticed, on our meeting notes here, everyone has their emails on the right-hand side next to their category. So if you have any questions about anything, email whoever it says next to it. And if it doesn't say someone, or you don't know who that person is or something like that, feel free to email me. We all have, or most of us have, Hobie Maryland email addresses, and it's just our first name at Hobie Maryland. Facilitation. Catherine and Natalie will be co-directors this year of facilitation. Do you want to take the floor?
So, like most of us in here are probably not facilitator age, but if you do know anybody that is an adult over 21, that's usually the area that we're looking for the most. And so that commitment in terms of time frame, our facilitation staff comes Wednesday night before seminar, and they would just be on campus from that Thursday or Wednesday night through Sunday, and do training for them and things like that. If you know anybody that's gone through Hobie and is an alum out of high school, between over 18 out of high school through 21, we're also looking for junior facilitation staff. We call our whole team facilitation staff just because we're one team. But typically, you guys know, we pair 2 people together for each group. Natalie and I are doing something slightly different this year, and we're going to have a priority deadline. And so last year we found that a lot of 18 to 21-year-olds feel like we had some that we had to turn away because we didn't have spaces available. And so if you apply before December 15th, you're given kind of like a first priority kind of a thing. Facilitation over 21, that we didn't have that issue with, but it's just that younger facilitation staff.
But we were pretty close even with 21 plus.
We were. So all applications should be by January 15th, and then we're looking to make the team selections in February to let people know. Yeah, and then we're going to be doing online trainings, which is slightly different, or a conference call, kind of like decide which format. But does anybody have any questions? Yes, that's something Natalie and I are looking at to do some pairings with. So, any other questions?
You had some questions for the group.
I think these are, I mean, we can go through these questions, but I mean, I think a lot of these questions are for former facilitation staff, but what are some topics that you guys would like to see in pre-seminar trainings for those of you that have been through them before?
Okay. Emphasis on the fact that the facilitators, experts, don't have the answers, they are providing the answers to us.
Okay.
Especially during the Hunger Games last year, there was a lot of facilitator writing answers during the dinner itself. During the debrief, we have a little more, but it should come from.
So more student heavy learning. Got it.
Depending on a little bit of challenge that I managed to staff is that how is that the definition that we use for facilitator is not necessarily facilitator. So clarifying what it means to be a facilitator.
Okay. Anybody else?
Catherine, how many are we looking for?
I believe our groupings are probably going to be the same. So 25 groups, so 25 over 21 and 25, 18 to 21. So a team of about 50. That's a lot of people. Were there any other questions in the chat?
Not that I saw. One of my things personally that we struggled with a little bit is the kind of how we train for the hunger meal. I realized that was a new event, but there are enough of us that have been through that I think we need to make that a conscious focus. It's a tough thing, whether we do the hunger meal or the poverty simulation, whatever it might be. But I think we need to think actively about how we involve the staff in that and how we take an active role in it. Poverty simulation, of course, we will more removed versus hunger meal, where you want them engaged in it like a.
I think that that would be a good idea. One of the things that we don't see at all. One of the things that
Yeah.
everything to do is that water will be
Yeah, totally. So we're going to be working really closely with the program team to come up with a facilitation how-to for each of the program elements. It was definitely one of our areas of growth from last year.
Cool. An online question. Alumni from outside of Maryland, are Maryland alum given the priority? The answer to that for facilitation staff is no. It's like we said, priority deadline is priority deadline. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. The only time it matters if you are a Maryland alum is for team alumni age staff.
Where I feel like some of these questions we kind of already talked on, but was there anything that you guys feel that Natalie or I could do to support you guys that maybe wasn't done last year to support the facilitation? I feel like May was a long time ago, but
Okay. As a new facilitator?
I'm very excited about this.
me too. Me too. I'm interested to know what you, as a new facilitator, how you felt prepared going in. I mean, I obviously Teresa probably prepared you, but in terms of like on our end, what intentionally did we do well and what intentionally better? That's right. Okay, awesome. Any other last comments? Thank you.
I will say we've had siblings, parents, uncles, aunts, whoever get involved, family friends, get involved as facilitators and had a really positive experience and made our Hobie family grow. So even if you are still in high school or something, it's not terrible to have a family member at Hobie. In fact, it's really awesome. And you will still do your own thing and have your own experience. So don't let that deter you from getting them involved. It's cool.
You don't have to be like afraid of how. And it sounds a little ridiculous, but I believe that's.
Moving on to program. Teresa, here's a microphone. Okay, so I'm Teresa. You don't know me. Hello, Internet friends. So I am co-director of program with Jordan. And Jordan can't be here right now because she's busy being in Florida because she just finished taking her LSAT. So if you would like to send conciliatory hugs to her via some sort of, asynchronous communication, I'm sure she would really appreciate that. Okay, so a lot of our goals is mostly to sort of streamline the process of program happening and facilitators facilitating. Catherine mentioned briefly that we're going to be doing a lot more this year to help support facilitators and facilitating. What that's going to look like from what we're looking at now is we're actually going to dedicate a page to each program element and have that be, this is the element, this is what it is, this is what we're trying to do. A brief outline of things you may see. This may come as, oh, for hunger dinner, sometimes this happens. Here. It might also come as, oh, this is if we have a speaker. These are main points the speaker's going to hit. It's going to depend a little bit on the activity because we have different activities that look different. And we're also going to include some sort of starter questions for facilitators to look at and be like, okay, these are the sorts of questions that I might want to ask or that I might want to think about. And then obviously the facilitators aren't going to be required to go by those questions, but especially for beginning facilitators, it'll give them a good starting off point to say, okay, this is what this should look like. How can I tailor that to my personal facilitation style? And that's really what Jordan and I are focusing on most. It's helping facilitators create and tailor their facilitation style to their individual student. And a lot of that's also going to come with working and Natalie for training, so that facilitators come in as prepared as they can be and have as much support as they can. Two notes that we are definitely going to move around. We thought that the county breakfast would work better on Friday than on Sunday, because that way you can come in on Thursday, get to know your group, and then get to know the people in your county who are here on the next day. And then you have a bunch of friends and you can go through Hobie and be like, oh man, this would be a really cool thing to bring back to my county. So instead of on Sunday trying to do the retrospective that ridiculously early in the morning when no one's eaten or had coffee yet, we can sort of facilitate that process throughout the entire weekend, which will hopefully result in more alumni feeling more empowered to bring things to their own house. Questions? We did talk about the hunger meal. Does anyone have any more comments on that? Okay. If you do come up with them, always feel free to email me or Jordan or me and Jordan. Responding to emails is one of my favorite hobbies, so come talk to me. You laugh like I'm kidding. The other question
that we have is if you had to choose a social activity to do on Saturday, would it be a dance or would it be something else? And keep in mind that we cannot hold the dance in Purcell, which is where we have been last. Why? Huh?
Capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was bad last
I totally
Apparently, fire hazards are bad for our trips.
Oh. It scared me.
Is it national that we have to have a school?
Yes.
Yes. So the question was, is it
But
national
talent
that we have to have social activity? And the answer is yes, that we do. It is natural.
There's actually supposed to have social time every day. So you're supposed to have some social element every day if possible. By having larger elements, we can meet that. But keep in mind, this is also not that we can't have a dance. We just can't have it in Purcell.
Before we did it in Purcell, we did it in the cafeteria. We would move all the tables aside and do it in there. So there are other options for a dance, but we're just asking if there was something to do on Saturday night. Would you choose a dance or would you choose something else, and what would that be?
Catherine suggested do a carnival and not with free roaming, which actually sounds. Yes.
I ain't grown up in that part of county, my mom was in the cafeteria at the mountain. I will say, I think they enjoy it. I think they really have a good time. It really seems that that's the bond. The relationships are going to solidify at that time. We seem to have a great time.
There are also lots of seminars who do activities like that outside. That's an option too.
I mean, my ambassador really did do it not so.
In Patriot.
Yes.
Patriot. Yeah.
Patriot, yeah. Never did. You don't want to go dancing.
I mixed up elements. We did do it in Patriot. And it was, we had more room.
Yeah, I think that would be a better idea because
the one thing that I personally would be inclined to keep as someone who doesn't like loud noises and lots of people, is that we have had a past. So if people like yes, no, feel exactly not.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to ask that there, and I was kind of like,
Well, so actually, if we do something in Patriot Hall, in the dining hall, we could probably get the cafe, and the game room would be there, and it would be closer. It's just a matter of supervision. I will say, having been on staff when we did the dance in Patriot Hall, for us, it's a lot more challenging. It's much more of a supervision issue, where people going. The nice thing about Purcell is it's contained and everyone's there, and so we don't have to staff it in the same way. So it's just being conscious of it. But again, this is just planning purposes. If we want to go with a dance, we'll make plans to go with a dance. We just have to figure out if that's the direction.
Yeah, I mean, my point with saying that we have done it, was that like just because we can't get Purcell doesn't mean that we can't.
Right.
Yeah, it's in the game thing. I think that's but something needs to be part of the game.
Yeah.
Because there were 0 games. So that means we just had to work with the next game. One of the other things that's nice in Patriots is to give them less time, like this maze to get there, then there. That's what I'm awkward. Below the in Patriots, there's couches down there, there's a big screen TV. You could potentially have it out there for some other games. And that would keep them in the same building, but would be away from the game.
Okay. So it sounds like we have pretty much a meeting next. And we will
We have a question online from Keisha. Keisha wants to talk about something.
Hi. So I thought of this when you mentioned about moving county breakfasts so that ambassadors can bond. I think it's really hard when we're in groups so much for ambassadors to get to know people in other groups. But this year I was with Noah, and I know that we got really close to Tressa's group because of just like random occurrences of being together for convenience. And maybe it'd be really cool if, like, I don't know if this works logistically, but if groups had like a sister group or a brother group and like they were paired together and maybe they did like a reflection once during the seminar together or did an activity or sat at dinner together once during a seminar.
That sounds really good. Right. Yes.
For me, like as a facilitator, it's important to bring my people there, set their expectations for the day, answer any questions about the day, and then next course, like that, like that backup time. But if there was an opportunity in the middle of the day, I think that would be, because they would delegate some kind of
Yeah, and I definitely like having facilitated the past 2 years. I definitely like did exactly what you're saying. I think that logistically it might be a little complicated other things you do, but that's definitely if you could email Jordan and I, that's definitely a conversation I'd like to have.
I'm kind of curious. We split up the talent show and dance last year.
Yes.
Different days, which was not what we had done previously.
We did that 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, are we comfortable with keeping that as the format, or has anybody any thought about? I think in some ways it was easier on us to do them back to back because of the time involved.
Sorry, hang on. So what Aaron's referring to, for those of you who are new to us in the past 1 or 2 years, prior to 2 years ago, we did the talent show straight into the dance, both on Saturday night as opposed to on separate nights.
Yeah, and I mean, I think logistically, in some ways, that was easier for us. There are other challenges associated with it. I'm just wondering if we're planning on sticking with that social time.
It is easier, but there's also, is that a use of our time and where do we put other things? So that's definitely a conversation that's being had and something that we like that about. But mostly we just had to that wasn't at the top of our priority list, so we had to talk it through and not to necessarily say, hey guys. But if you guys want to have feelings about it. Well, that's actually why it worked very, very well back to back, because people get super amped after the talent show and take that energy straight into the dance. That's something we can talk about now. If you have any suggestions for what that might be. Okay, cool.
I know that I really got close. Going out of it, I got close to my weeks. So I thought
on the I think we need to focus on first. I think the sister brother group idea is intriguing to me. Having that, because I do think it's nice to have other group outside group. I like
I mean, Matt, not to put you on the spot, but as someone who was in that, you do have particularly strong feelings about spending a lot of time with
Yeah, also, especially for our group, a lot of people have a lot of free time. And I thought it was very beneficial, especially because we were able to break. In good times, sometimes it's not common enough, it feels like, to really get deep and haven't had those long conversations before to let out a lot of like feelings in that. So one thing you do have with other speaker, we already had good time, we already we kind of got past just the artistic on, which I feel is really one of the big things that having that. We used to talk all the time, so I think, wow, it's awesome that there's 240 other students. Like, I think that he was really one of the because those other people who live in so I think that group time is really it's great to be close together, but especially when you're in the seminar, you don't even realize it. Like, you really don't realize. I didn't talk to half these kids until you leave, and you look back and you're like, no, I spent a lot of time with my group, but when you're there, it kind of just feels like you're friends the whole time. It's like, so I think a lot of it is just when you're done, you look back and you're like, man, I spent a lot of time with 10 people. But it leaves you with an experience that's really becomes positive. I mean, that's trying to spread out there, trying to get it.
I personally think that time should be only because those are the people. But I do think that there's more time with other people. Because being it when I was so when I was there, we had a lot of time. We had a lot of time with other groups, and we weren't we had so much more time. But for some reason, I feel like I'm listening to 2 hours-ish, and I know that the time and Maryland was a little bit shorter, so I feel like it was harder to get closer to them than the one we had in such a short amount of time. So I think that we should keep your time as just a group, but I think we can have other time for that
Talk about yes, with 25 groups of logistically it's kind of difficult. But personally, I feel group time is that point where kind of it's worth the extra effort. We may not have as much space to do it, but I do feel in groups of like less than 10. Especially like we have that 8 down there. And I think lower, you kind of lose that close-in aspect, and then if you get to the small, but I feel like group time is one of the few things that it's worth. It's worth being able to spread out a lot, maybe a little more tight. That's what I say. I think it's worth.
That's really good feedback. So in that case, we are left with opportunities to help. Pretty much with program, if you think of a program element, we would like your help on it. So we always need speakers, we always need people to speak on panels, we always need people for career lunch. If you have any ideas about someone that you think would be a really great fit, please let us know. The type of people we're looking for are the sort of people who are comfortable interacting with a large or small audience. Obviously, this is a speaker or panelist. It's probably going to be, if you have some host speaking experience, that would be helpful. It's not necessarily required, but it's something that we want to make sure that that our speakers are comfortable speaking. For career lunch, we want people who have all sorts of careers. Because we're going to have all sorts of ambassadors. So we'd love for each ambassador to be able to sit down with someone and be like, wow, I want to do this when I grow up. So if you have any needs on any of those things, please let us know. Sooner rather than later would be great.
But if something comes up in like 3 months and you're like, wow, this person would be a fantastic speaker, just because it's 3 months from now doesn't mean that we don't want to know. Even if it doesn't pan out for the seminar, it might for next seminar. And so that's always important. Are you going to do a first draft?
Sure, I can relay what Sean told me.
I can.
Go for it.
So L for us this year is going to be Sean, and Chris Fry is going to be helping him out. And our current plan is that everyone is going to be going to Gettysburg site. So the Park Services is going to arrange for porta potties so that there is restroom facilities near the work site. And we will also have a smaller inside opportunity for people for whatever reason can't go and lift heavy things in that site. The exact details on the project will be nailed down in April when the park has a little bit more of an idea of what specifically they'll need in May. And additionally, Sean is talking to AmeriCorps to see if they can augment Park Services to help out for the first project, which is also potentially a very fun opportunity for ambassadors to get to know people who are in the program that they might be able to enjoy.
I remember hey, tours alone, and so, but so it was actually it was a blast, but the bathrooms were like so we had to walk 30 minutes to go to the bathroom, and by the time we got back, it was like so much had been done, so we were like, oh well, now where do we go? Just buddy system had to have a group of people go. So like, if you really had to go to the bathroom, you couldn't just go. You had to wait for the next group to go. So I think that's a really, really smart idea. And also with being inside portion, there were a lot of tips, and I knew that a lot of people were not happy with being around that. So I think that's good.
So one thing to say is that this was our first year at Gettysburg, and with any service project, there's a lot to learn the first time. And so we're trying to make improvements for next year. I do think it was a really emotionally positive experience for ambassadors and staff to be at a place like Gettysburg on the park grounds. But it did have its challenges, and the Park Service was amazed, as any site is the first time we come to them. They're amazed at how much we can do in such a short time. So next year they will be more prepared with more stuff for us to do so that we don't have that problem of finishing tasks early and all of that. Yeah.
Being able to like step back.
I think I will say I wasn't at the Gettysburg site, so I heard how it played out, but I do think we may need to do a better job in terms of our pre-service briefing.
Yeah.
In terms of what is the activity, and we've always focused on like why we're doing that for us. But I also think we need to take 5-10 minutes to talk about the risk management issues so that people are more aware of this is who you report to, exactly your thoughts, this is what we're doing about bathrooms, just because we know this is a larger site and how we're going to manage that.
And I do feel a little bit more confident about having the time and like ability to address that since we're only doing one project as opposed to being together.
Is it possible to do like an exit road plan? Masters can see. It's like you're in this area, this is where the bathrooms are, this is where you're working, this is where you're working.
And then so you move a map.
Yeah, like there's a map and see where the groups are. Yeah.
We can try.
I don't, the question was, is it possible or not?
The Park Service is working with us more actively this year and getting us information earlier on, so hopefully that will be much easier to do this year. Last year, we didn't even really know where the buses were landing. So that's all in the works, yeah.
So we have a question from the chat, which is, will we have activity can't do physical stuff outside. Yes. The difference is that it will be on site, so it will be like on site, but it will be indoors on site, and it will be an activity that campus can do because that's important.
Yeah, I think the thought is that there will be a group at the visitor center probably helping get like the pamphlets that they do ready and cleaning up the visitor center so that it's more presentable and things of that nature for, yeah. I don't know.
Yes.
I like the idea of solving at one site because it's talking about how they do it all by themselves, but like people all have the same site. I just think there's another group that we're able to talk out, and that was really nice. So I got to do all of this.
Yep, that's definitely a really good opportunity that we want to make available. Cool. So that's about it for program stuff. And again, if you have like anything from program last year that you were like, oh man, that's great, or oh man, that wasn't great, or hey, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this. I like talking about thoughts and feelings about programs. I possibly never shut up about it. So I'm sure Noah would appreciate me talking to not him about that. So send me.
Hello, my name is Brandon. I'm your director of operations this year. Sorry. A couple things we're working on this year is increased communication between non-secondary staff and communication staff, mostly with dining room staff, make sure times are available, things like that. Also, we're doing a lot of documentation this year, doing a lot of documentation of and working on an electronic red green card placement system, so you guys will be able to do electronically send to us instantaneously to the documents. A red green card. Great question, Kathleen. So a red green card for your new TA, TA is a positive and negative system. So good things, bad things, or comments and concerns. We are working on revamping the program, Trace it is. So
We're trying to get away from the positive negative and trying to create more of a feedback loop and also a kind of monitored feedback loop as it were, so that the things that can be adjusted on site in the moment can be addressed in a positive way and constructive criticism, whereas the things that don't need to be stressed right at the moment don't necessarily have to stress those directors out when they can't do anything to change the thing that happened 5 hours ago. So we're looking for feedback from anyone who has maybe seen another way it works or something like that. We're definitely moving away from calling them red and green, and definitely moving more towards a just feedback and trying to make it easier for people to give in-the-moment feedback as they notice something so that we can keep making our program better.
Something like this.
Interesting.
And you could just think about it. Hashtag facilitation or hashtag facilities. So, what it's needed is instant moderate. You can't do a Twitter without it being public in that way. There's no way that if they're let's say it's at facilitation, if you search for that tag, anyone will be able to find your speech at facilitation. Now, how we respond to it is different. No,
but everyone who's typing it would have to lock their account as well.
Right. If at Teresa tweets at facilitation, I can still see at Teresa's tweet.
So I've already looked into this little issue that we're having, and I've already set up a private Maryland operation cell phone number. So you're going to be able to text a situation to us, and the operations staff will then get an email. So that way we can have electronic documentation. I won't know who's sending it, but I will have the cell phone number. It's a text message to me. Saying
Yeah, my teacher does that. The domain, so the teacher has access to it. You text the teacher directly, so you have a list of information. Say your question, he knows who it is, but nobody else gets the text message. But he can also send out mass text, saying to everybody in class, saying, okay, this is the only thing that you're text.
I've used the training with the numbers. One of the problems we run into is how big the group is. There's size limitations on some of these things, so but yeah, I've used it through possibility.
Potentially. Yeah.
There is
If any operation needs or anything you think I need to improve, please let me know. Anything the operations staff team and Ashley, so if you can figure out.
I completely agree with that. And I believe on the Saturday. So it's for the first hour, or the first night, we had to sit in our dorm waiting to get actually into our dorm. So we were just chilling in our seat. And because you couldn't lock the doors to the lock.
Yep.
Oh, we know.
We didn't know about that. So we got locked out of our so absolutely, because it took so long. Like it took like an hour and a half. We were all really tired. I'm not a team alumni. I was in a basketball last year. So it just like it took us so long to actually contact them to like unlock the door.
I was going to say, that checks it about 18 months, especially because I was the one and so we were the last ones to be checked on, and so we had to like stay up, so we would like take shifts, like he slept one night, and I stayed up. It was a mess. It just took a while. I was think about it.
You should talk to the other ambassadors about that because that means they weren't in their room.
I didn't leave my room because I didn't know when they were showing up. So I just did that.
Note taken. Well, let's discuss bed checks at some point.
Any other operations needs to start?
Okay. Moving on to fundraising. something that, so last year we started making it very apparent to what our costs are. Last year, I don't know the numbers for this year. The amount usually increases the numbers by a little bit every year. So I don't know what those increases are yet, but last year it cost us $276 per staff member that was on site, and like I said earlier, there were over 100 staff members. For a first-time team alumni, because they also get the jacket, it's actually $290 for each person. So that breaks down into housing is a big chunk of it, $100. Meals are over 100, 102. The facility costs each person $37. T-shirts around $6. If you're over 21, we have to do a background check on you. That costs us $7. And then bus transportation to the service site is $23 a person. So we don't require any specific amount from any staff member or volunteer. We do ask that our team alumni raise, the goal this year is $9,000. So among those 30 people, we're looking for a $9,000 fundraising goal. From our facilitation staff, we know that you're taking time off work. It might be unpaid time, things of that nature. So we don't require anything, but we do want it to be very clear that it does cost us just under $300 to have each of us on site. Community Reinvestment Act, CRA, as we refer it to, is something that Catherine started last year. We've spoken a little bit about it today, but I want her to just explain what it is and what is required to help with that.
So the Community Reinvestment Act is national legislation, I believe, that requires banks to invest a certain amount of money into their community. And so a lot of times they fulfill this requirement by donating money to different organizations. They are not required to donate to organizations to fulfill the requirement. Sometimes they make a certain amount of loans and loan for mortgages or corporate loans or something like that. But for our purposes, it's really great because we do have a lot of schools that are in low-income areas that do qualify for credit for these banks for them to give scholarships to schools. So basically what we did last year is we looked at the data across Maryland for free and reduced lunch schools across Maryland, and then we looked at our enrollment data for which of those schools have been to HOBY and which schools by county would qualify for these funds. Then we sent basically an introduction packet to targeted banks. Typically, we only approach banks, not like Bank of America, not a national bank, but we approach community. So that's like your federal credit unions, that's your community bank, that's not your Wells Fargo, but like the smaller ones. And so we've had a lot of really great success by literally just sending a packet and then following up with the phone call. We had, I believe, 6 banks last year donate. 5. Only 5 banks donated. I reached out to probably about 30. I had no time to make follow-up phone calls, and we secured $12,000. So that's huge. There's a lot of community banks in Maryland. I have a spreadsheet literally of all of them. I don't have the finances to mail to all of them. But my goal this year is to reach out to the banks that donated last year to secure those funds, and then to reach out to Prince George County and Montgomery County banks. So there's about 25 community banks across Montgomery County and Peachtree County. And so I would like to be a little bit more aggressive with it this year in terms of following up, because obviously the more you follow up, probably the more success you'll have. So I'm really looking for people to either help me stuff mailings or to make phone calls or emails or follow-ups. So if you're interested, want to be on Team Alumni, like this is a really, really great way to get your fundraising goal met, and then also just like thinking about resumes and like resume building and putting college applications. This is definitely, you're learning a lot of skills that are very attractive to employers and also very attractive to colleges. So that's my plug there.
Captain, what are we doing with the mail? Because there's some stuff we can do to automate it, get it out more.
That'd be great. I literally just have Word documents that I print and copy at my job kind of illegally. And then I stuff packets and
How big a packet are we talking about?
10 to 12 pages, and I put them in the big 8x11 thing, and literally like mail merge stickers to put on them.
So if you can figure out how to fund it, you can definitely do a massive.
I mean, I've been funding it, like it's not a huge...
Right, but if we're going to send it to, say, 100 banks.
Okay, well, yeah, let's talk about that. Because I have the addresses for all of those banks, and if we have the follow-up, it's worth it. So.
The other thing that CRA Grants was great for us for, last year we scholarshiped more students than we ever have before. That means that those schools in Baltimore City that can only afford $25 to send a student, we still require them to send $25 because we want to know that that student's going to come and that they have some reason to come, that the school's pushing them to come. But that other $175 can be, you know, one of these banks in Baltimore City could say, we want this to go to a school in Baltimore City. And what that means is the school registration fee is $195. We've decided as a board that it costs us $450 per student to attend our seminar. So that $195 costs part of it. Well, if a bank gives us $450, we can tell the school, give us 20 bucks, you can send a student. And then we know that we're covered not only for their registration fee, but for their whole stay, and use those funds as scholarships. So it helps us towards our fundraising goal, but it also helps us get more students from a more diverse background from across the state and some of those schools who wouldn't otherwise be able to get involved.
Any questions on community banks? About a dozen. It's small for the area. Of like, if you give this much, you're sponsoring this many schools, and we'll give. So some of it would be program space, some of it would be like an announcement at closing ceremonies. We had one bank donate $5,000. They told me that their board votes on where they donate money to, and every year they have $10,000 to donate. And so we made a personal trip. Carol is really close to her house, and so she met the person that gave us the money and like, you know, networked or whatever, so hopefully maybe that will go up next year. But just things like that, we don't necessarily know how deep people's pockets are unless they tell us, and a lot of times, you know, I actually met one person that is an alumni from Hopi, Maryland, so that's why it piqued her. Just like, you really never know where people are coming from unless you ask. Matt, did you have a question? You sure? Okay. But yeah, we'll talk. Awesome.
Yeah. Ryan has a question, Captain.
Oh, all right. Yeah, and so last year, So for those of you online, the question was, where are the banks concentrated and where are the scholarship concentrated? So last year I spent time looking at Baltimore County and Baltimore City because I was literally stepping in myself and only had so much time to do it. And so much funds to send them out. So that's kind of where I focused last year and literally didn't send them anyplace else.
And I got 2 from Montgomery County last year, just from contacts that we had.
People that you know. So let me know. I can't read any of that. Somebody's gonna have to-
How many schools participate, and can we only solicit banks?
Cities. How many schools?
How many city schools?
So that number is changing every year, Sade. I believe last year we had 22 Baltimore City schools, which was really great. It's increasing the more effort we put into it and the more scholarships we have available.
But I will add, though, that it's not just city schools that qualify.
Yeah.
So, your rural areas that are lower income, those qualify for it. Even if the school isn't necessarily free and reduced lunch, but it's in an area that is lower economical. I don't know what I'm talking about.
There were.
Thank you, Erin. So great with the word. It qualifies. So it's basically like, does it meet one or the other criteria, and then it'll.
There were a surprising number of schools on that list in like Montgomery County and Howard County, which people generally don't think of as schools that would need support, and they do. So it's really all across the state. And then the second question was, can we only solicit banks? No, we can solicit in any way that we want. We can fundraise in any way that we want. Banks is just, the CRA grants is a new way that we started doing last year and has been very successful. So we would like to expand our mission on that to see how much that can do for us. It's also seems to be a more prominent way to get continuing funding year to year, because these banks have the same funds available every year, whereas personal corporations may not, personal people may not.
And then we do, for those of you that don't know, we follow up at the end of seminar, so all those thank yous that you guys wrote, they do actually get delivered for our corporate organizations as well as our banks. We send a program, we send a letter from Carol, who's our corporate board president, and sometimes like a pin, like a Hobie pin or something, just like as an extra thank you. So they do definitely get them, and those are a lot of the reasons why organizations continue to give, because, oh, look what this kid wrote about how great this thing is, or, I don't remember, because it was over a year ago. I will tell you, though, I try to get them out before the end of 2000, like the year before seminar, so like I'll probably try to get them out October, November, because a lot of times the fiscal year will be ending for banks in December, and so they're really looking to make those donations before or at the start of the following fiscal year they'll give those funds, so they're really looking, I'm not going to do it in March because they probably already committed those funds. But yeah. There's a ghost in the building.
Okay.
Lovely.
Other means of fundraising. Charlie Mellish, some of you may know, he was on the facilitation team last year, is putting effort into a county-by-county fundraising effort. He reached out to some people via Facebook, but if anyone hasn't gotten in touch with him and is interested in doing some fundraising with people that live locally to you, having kind of a community of people that you can fundraise with, maybe somebody that you can join with to do a Chipotle fundraiser, or if your school sent 2 students, maybe you and your the other alumni from your school can put together a bake sale or a drive at your school or something. And so he's looking to get names of people from counties so that he can connect everyone. And if you do any of this other fundraising, it still goes to your team. So if you're on facilitation and you do fundraising with CRA or something else, it can still count towards your team goal. Team alumni can still count towards your team goal, even if it counts in another area as well. So Charlie's email is on there if you want to give him your name and what county you're in so that you can meet other people in your county to do fundraisers with. Cooperating organizations. So Carol takes the lead for us on our cooperating organizations. Again, that's the Optimists. They give us about $10,000 every year, but it's 500 from this club and 1,000 from this club and 200 from this club. So it's a lot of work to connect all of these clubs back to Hobie. Optimist, Kiwanis, Women's Club, JC's, those are the ones that we already tap into. There's also clubs like the Lions Club, Rotary Clubs, Knights of Columbus. Almost every city has a Chamber of Commerce. All of these groups are also philanthropic groups that want to give back to their community, and the same way that we tell the banks we can put this money into a student in your community, we can tell these cooperating organizations you can use this to sponsor the local school nearby. So if anyone has contacts or wants to make contacts with any of those types of philanthropic clubs, groups, chambers of commerce, anything like that, we're looking to expand our knowledge and connection with those groups. Corporate fundraising, my father is going to do some work on this. Some questions under corporate fundraising. Do you know a corporation that likes to give to nonprofits? Do you know a company that offers matching donations, and do you know any employees there? Do you know a company like Apple that provides hours if you do service? Some of our high schoolers might work for Apple, and they might not know that this program exists. Or some of our college students might work for Apple as a part-time job while they're in school. So just getting some more knowledge out there about the fact that these efforts and ways to make funds exist. And then just the simple talk about Hobie at work, talk about Hobie at school, talk about Hobie at family functions, and see what comes of it. You just never know who's going to be sparked, who's going to be interested, or who's going to say, like, oh, I've been looking for somebody to send a scholarship to, or, we have the scholarship fund and we don't have any applications, which leads me into grants. There are lots of grants out there for high school age students, and many of them go, I don't know the right word for it, unclaimed each year because they just don't do the marketing necessarily to get the applications in. And if nobody applies for the scholarship, then the scholarship isn't given out. So it would be great if people wanted to research grants in Maryland that exist for teens. There is also Walmart grants, and there are locations all over Maryland of Walmart facilities, and each facility you can submit an application to receive a grant from. I have a lot more information about Walmart grants and some materials that have already been put together for us by a Hobie volunteer from another site who helped us get all that information together. So we just need someone or some people to take that information, fill in the blanks, and literally just fill out the applications, which is just filling in blanks. So if you know anybody that has any interest in doing that, that is another way to fundraise. And then the last thing, which I mentioned before, Brandon is working on a new list for, is gift in kind. A gift in kind is literally anything you can think of. So, you have 200 paper plates at home from a graduation party that never got used, and you don't have parties very often. We'll take them. We'll feed our staff on them on Wednesday night. Things as simple as that. But some things that we're definitely looking for that would make life much easier. Instead of doing discs, we'd love to do portable flash drives to take the slideshow home on, take some pictures home on. Closing packet type stuff, but flash drives aren't cheap unless you have a contact. Some meal donations, bus transportation, anybody at a bus company, or something like that. Right now, we're paying retail price for our bus even though we're a nonprofit. Maybe there's a way to work around that. Last year we did the water bottles that we gave everyone. That was the first year we did that instead of recycling hundreds of plastic water bottles. We'd love for that to be a donation so that we have reusable water bottles again. T-shirts. One thing specific that Brandon's looking for is a color laser printer. But really anything you can think of. And one way to do this, I know Ashley will be putting together a list of fundraising possibilities. Ashley and Aaron are, I believe, working together to create kind of a master list of ways to fundraise and things that you can do. And Gift in Kind is definitely one of them. And we have some pre-written letters and things that are already drafted that all you have to do is go in and change the contact name, the name of the store, and the address, and then you can go in and hand it to your local Staples or your local Walmart or Costco or whatever. And lots of those stores do provide donation, like gift cards and stuff, that you just have to go in and meet them in person and hand them a letter in order to get that. There's some other details like Costco will give away damaged goods. You know, once a month they go through and like get all their damaged goods together that they can't sell for the normal price. And if we tell them we'll take anything, then they might give it to us, but we just have to have somebody to go to these stores and to tell them who we are and what we do and what we're willing to take off their hands. Yes, Ryan. Yeah. Not about buses. That's a good idea. Awesome. Some people that we're still seeking, we always have trouble finding a medic and a counselor, social worker, school counselor, anything of that sort. We need to have a medic on site to deal with the 350 people and all of our allergies and medical needs. We also would like to have a social worker on site to, help us with some of our hard-hitting topics like the hunger meal and things like that for people that it does hit home and they might want to talk to somebody about it. We'd like to have those people around for them. So if you know anyone of those sorts that might be interested in a Hobie environment.
There's a degree, LCSW, licensed clinical social worker. There's a couple other, it's a good question. There's a couple other professions that would definitely fit the bill. And LCSW would probably be our ideal. Actually, someone who retired last year. We're working in a school, so that's good.
Checking. And that's what I have in terms of news and updates from all of our wonderful directors and departments. Any questions? Yes. Yes, we will still be doing Pop Tops at seminar.
I don't know. Good job.
Carol's the best person in terms of where it goes and how we use it before and all that.
There's an article that was written about it that explains everything that it goes for, what it was, what it does, what kind of money we get for it.
So I think this actually raises a good question in a more general sense. For those of you that were ambassadors last year, we talked about, I didn't know about the Pop Tops, and we talked about how we had the service project and the PICs and all of that and all this. What this really comes down to from our side are communication issues. And we put this on the forums. We tell your facilitators to tell you about it, and yet people still don't get the message. One second. So I want to hear what you think would have worked better, because we realize that we have to say things 80 times sometimes to get them across, but we also want to do it as efficiently as possible because it is so time constrained.
Is that when you say, hey, you should bring some alcohol. What happens is you end up with like 6 and you don't bring 6 alcohol. So we can get them out sooner and not necessarily have facilitators or a school register. Hey, you know what? It's a really great thing. You should start saving up for it. All of a sudden, you might have like a plastic bag to 6.
We didn't know until the day before.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, TA-aged peoples. So one thing that some of us older folks are realizing is that you guys communicate in different ways now and using different platforms. And I know that Ashley and I, in the past couple of years of our Director of Team Alumni roles, have noticed that an email might not get to you, so we tried Facebook, and oh wait, now they're not using Facebook. And what is the best way to get information to you where you will check it on a daily basis?
Don't say Snapchat.
But actually, so right now, I'm at the University of Maryland Library, and right now we're actually doing Snapchat stack within the University of Maryland libraries, and people are really into it. And it's getting a lot more traction, literally. So we can come up with like a way to use Snapchat with my it's actually people are coming to the film library and being excited about it. They're like
So the problem, this I take full responsibility on this. It's not that we can't create a Snapchat. It's very easy, and we did one for Hobie National. It is a question of content. The struggle we have with Snapchat is, you say, well, we're doing a scavenger hunt, but at least you're contained. We're all over the state, and that is the problem. It's like, we have a lot of content. We have a lot of content at Seminar, and so we know that, and we're not opposed to that. The other piece of it is, when we do it at Seminar, who would we be doing it for? We'd be doing it for the ambassadors who are standing there anyway, and I don't want them really looking at their phones when they need to be engaged in the program. So it's figuring out how to use Snapchat when we're not at Seminar. And I'm not opposed to that. We've tried to do some things with Instagram and all of that. But it's, how can we just mold that content when we know it's only going to be there 24 hours? And are people really going to be tuning in a way that's going to engage them? So totally for it, but we have to have the content to back it up.
Say we have this member to their, say, member, your deadline's coming up, like post for the law now. Make sure the dates, make sure the calendar, whatever you get to their mind, that's to be
Ryan, it's text messaging with pictures on it. I mean, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like if you're thinking like facilitators and stuff like that, like maybe like when facilitators hand out students prior, say, hey, what's your Snapchat? So maybe that's easier. I can get in contact with you that way. Send their pictures or just their Snapchat. You can check out multiple people. So if your population is like only TA, you can go down and say, oh, send out that way.
No, don't have the resources to manage that. I mean,
Okay.
that sounds ideal. What I would say is if you guys have we actually talked about this even on the board level, that we're going to create a Snapchat and it's going to happen soon. But what I would say is need help with the content. So if you have things where you're like, hey, let's put this out. And it doesn't even have to be Snapchat, mind you. There's things we're trying now to do a monthly email. We're trying to make sure that all of our feeds are updated. But it is about content. And a lot of times is everyone's like, well, we should be getting this. Well, I'm one person, and so if I'm not getting the content from you guys, I don't have anything to distribute. Okay? So if you have things that you want to put out there, let me know, and we'll get it out there.
Are people more likely to check their email if we like Snapchatted a picture of the newsletter and said, it's in your email box?
Yes. It'll remind me.
And it could just be a Hobie Maryland story as opposed to two specific.
No, that I know.
Tracy, class, and then they get text.
So this is the other thing is we had the text messaging service from the seminar. If you signed up for it at the seminar, you're still on it. But we haven't necessarily sent anything out, because we don't want to spam people. There's that problem of every time I send a message to the Hobie Maryland text, I get 10 back, hey, take me off of it, because people can't figure it out themselves. So we're trying to not spam people. But if you guys are like, well, we need to do it, we can do more of it.
Cool.
Present.
Okay, but also you have like almost 80, right? So then maybe you have a cute animal or a stuffed animal, and you can have like a monthly little outfit thing, like it's the it's the October newsletter, and it can something like that. I volunteer.
Awesome.
On that note.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I hope that sharing your thoughts doesn't end today and that you take some of these email addresses in your notes and email us all of your ideas, comments, dislikes, likes, everything. We're always looking to improve. We know that Hobie, Maryland is great, but we can always get better. Anyone have anything they want to share about what's going on in your life?
What date are you aiming for?
Planned around Hobie.
Yeah. Well, I'm already working on maybe I'll do it. I said that's how you start.
Anyone else life excitements?
Carol's supposed to be here, so I don't have to humble brag, but I was recognized for an award that I'm getting next week for Outstanding in Marylander from the JCs.
That's not good.
I will say your schools generally should have gotten registration packets by this point, so whoever registered you, it's a good thing to go check in with them and say, hey, have you seen anything yet in your mailbox from Hobie? It should be coming around again. I know I personally...
Sorry.
Sorry. Don't mean to interrupt.
I was like, they have
if your school hasn't seen something, it's a good thing for us to know, but they should be at least in the mail. I haven't seen it at my school yet, so I know it's on the way. The other thing I will say is those of you who are interested in volunteering for WLC or ALA, applications just went up on the national website yesterday. For ALA, I do not. For WLC, you do have to be 18.
Any other? Yeah.
Also, Ari has news. They started a Hobie club at Mount St. Mary's.
Awesome. I also just, Ari, Mount St. Mary's now has an application to be an intern for Hobie, Maryland for the spring semester. So there is now an internship available for the spring semester. I would like to get a Mount St. Mary's student so that they can do some kind of local distribution of things for me and be there in person a little bit more. Maybe not even for the site, like for the seminar, but during the spring semester from January through April to kind of help our directors out and get some of that back-end stuff done that we might not have time to produce. So there is a Hobie, Maryland internship in the works for this year, hopefully at Mount St. Mary's.
Yes.
Nice. In other news, I'm going back to school in January. I am getting a master's certificate in arts administration. but it's completely online and whatever, so I'm still doing everything else that I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, that's repeaters. Okay. If you want to help with recruitment, talk to these guys. If you have any other comments, facilitation, program, communications, operations, you know who to talk to. Otherwise, come join us at Chili's. Yay, Hobie!
I will send you those notes.
Those most definitely qualify. Anything you do with Hobie is volunteer work. Coming to this meeting is volunteer work.